So, hello and welcome to Queerness in the CW's superhero universe. There's only two of us, so this is going to be more of a conversation, and I would also very much like to see some audience questions, if you could put those in the Q&A. And the reason we have the meerkats is because our good friend Don Sakers, who was supposed to be on this panel, unfortunately passed away suddenly 2 weeks ago. So we are representing him here in spirit through the meerkats because he had an inordinate fondness for them. I'm going to let Valerie introduce herself, please.
Hello, I'm Valerie Estelle Frankel. I'm the author of Superheroines in the Epic Journey and 2 books about Wonder Woman, one about Captain Marvel, etc., etc. So yeah, I write a lot about what superheroines are getting up to, even as we've finally got enough superheroine stories in the big screen and the smaller screen to actually talk about.
And I am Jennifer Povey. I'm a writer of science fiction and fantasy. I am a very long-term comic book fan, and I actually came up with this panel because the CW has been doing a better job than in the past representing queer characters, but not as good a job as they could be. And I've also always felt that there was a certain kind of inherent queerness to superheroes in general. So we're going to talk a bit about that. But how about we start talking about our favorite queer characters? And I have to go with Dreamer. It was so awesome to have a trans woman character who has a power that is limited to women and is played by a trans actor who is very, very talented. A very talented young actor that I would love to see have a stellar career. What about you, Valerie?
I've really been enjoying Anissa off Black Lightning. You were discussing how superheroes can be a metaphor for queerness, and oh my god, Buffy season 2, have you tried not being a slayer? Her mother, or season 3, but anyway, have you tried not being a slayer? Her mother asks when she finds out, and they did something like that in X-Men too. But Buffy spends so much of her superhero life, we could argue whether she's a superhero, but putting that aside, she spends so much of her life sneaking around her mother's rules and keeping this a secret from everyone. And Black Lightning's family is so healthy by contrast. The girls are not keeping secrets from their parents. The parents aren't really keeping secrets to the kids. They're all superheroing together as a family. They talk to each other about anything. Anissa did not have to be in the closet. She said something about "I knew from the beginning." And you get the idea that the world's most supportive parents were just cool with it. And when we first see them in episode 1, everybody's cool with it. And they're just so healthy compared with every other superhero family out there.
Yeah, I mean, Jen has her moments, but didn't we all at that age? And when they were dealing in the most recent series, when they were dealing very much with addiction, we saw a lot of sneaking around, but I think it made the fact that it was a healthy family made the point they were making about addiction and what it does to you. And that's one of the things it does to you, is it makes you hide things. I think that made a very good point. But yeah, I love Anissa and Grace, and the fact that their relationship is written absolutely the same way it would be written if they were straight. And the CW has, in a couple of cases, done that very well with writing a lesbian relationship with absolutely no difference in the way the characters in their relationship are treated.
And of course, Supergirl's sister is awesome. Their relationship is also so supportive, and very few secrets kept from each other, and the two of them completely can trust each other and trust each other's choices. So again, I'm feeling a pretty healthy relationship there.
And also that relationship does kind of echo the thing I like to say about the parallels, because Cara is supporting Alex about her sexuality and Alex is supporting Cara about her superhero in pretty much the same way. So you really do have that echo of secret identities and what might happen to you don't, and coming out, and you've always got that sort of fear of coming out that's always kind of there for whatever reason. And no, it's not the same thing. And yes, they did do that in X-Men. It was Bobby. Have you tried not being a mutant? From his parents. In which X-Men? I don't remember.
X2.
Two. Yeah. It was one of that main trilogy, but I don't remember exactly which one. And amazingly, nobody in the chat does either. Usually somebody in the chat is like pouncing on the panelists. So I think maybe, shall we go to the elephant in the room, which is where the CW is I will answer that, and I will definitely answer that, Jessica, when it because it kind of, we may actually end up answering that, because the elephant in the CW room, what gender are all the core queer characters?
We've got a lot of women.
We've got a lot of women. We've got a lot of women. Why do we think the CW is doing so well with, we've got a trans woman, we've got multiple lesbians, we've got a bisexual woman, Sarah Lance, and who do we have on the guy's side? Constantine, and the guy in Legend who died in like the first or second season, because, and not their fault, the actor quit. So William, yeah, Leonard Snart, thank you. And it's like, where's our cool gay guys? Where's our cool bisexual guys? And we said we've got Constantine, but as we pointed out, they're not really, they're not straight washing him like the actual Constantine show did, but they're kind of wishy-washing it. Why do you think that is? I don't want to put you on the spot.
People have been asking that in the comics for decades. Why are we seeing a few lesbians and almost no gay men? What are we doing here? And the answer in all cases is the publishers and studios are going more conservative with what they think the mainstream audience wants to see, and we don't want to ruffle feathers and push boundaries. Yeah.
And I think a part of it is that I have seen this, and I actually got into a massive fight on social media with a comic store owner over this, is there is still an idea that the typical comic book superhero fan is an overweight straight guy who lives in his mother's basement. And I actually had a comic book store owner say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cater to you because you are not my plan demographic. And I'm, as somebody who's been purchasing comics for years, watching superhero shows for years, but he sees the boobs and goes, you're not important. And like it or not, there's always that little bit, I think the CW has done a really, really good job of not fetishizing the lesbian characters. But I still think there's some sort of feeling that guys will read stories about lesbians, guys will not read stories about gay men. And I think that's actually a big part of the problem. And we need to get them to understand that, no. Many of the people watching these shows do actually want gay guys. And Constantine to sleep with a guy other than Gary.
Yeah, and when you look at what the CW has actually given us, not just the LGBTQ question, but the race and gender question, again, they're trying now, but this has been a very conservative road. If we go back a bit farther, we had 10 seasons of Smallville and one of Birds of Prey, which happened at the same time. And I thought Birds of Prey was delightful, but again, started at the same time, and we had 10 of one and half a season of the other. And then we got Arrow, Flash, Supergirl. Oh my gosh, we have a female superhero at last. And then the sad little, okay, Vixen gets a half-hour cartoon a year in contrast with the 22 episodes. Yes, that is in the Arrowverse. And then Legends of Tomorrow was, of course, the we have minorities on the bridge and we're not sure what we're doing with them, until thank goodness it became the funny show. And now it's my favorite because I
Yeah,
love the funny show. But I was
Legends
just
did
looking
not
at this.
start great. But, and of course, the other thing you had to realize with Supergirl, which ties in with some of the stuff CW has done in other genres in the past, is they bought Supergirl from another network after it was already getting good
Oh, that's a
ratings.
good point. She was in the Arrowverse, kind of, but yeah, she was on another
She was
network.
not initially in the Supergirl was not in the Arrowverse until they did Crisis. That's one of the reasons they did it. Supergirl was not originally in the Arrowverse, was not originally a CW show. And if you look at Supernatural, terrible, I have not watched it, but I have heard things about the female characters in Supernatural. That the CW has been historically tending to want to do a certain sort of show, and Arrow falls into it, which is a show that is a, remember, the target audience of the CW is generally younger people. And I think that they didn't know what to, they were afraid to do a show with a female lead until they bought Supergirl. And now, of course, they realized Supergirl worked, so now they can do Batwoman and etc., etc. And I mean, so yeah, I know people loved Supernatural. I have lots of friends. I just never got into it. By the time I realized it was good, it was already on season 8 and intimidated me. So I think I don't know whether we addressed Jessica's question, but I do want to talk about Jonathan's, because first of all, Batwoman, Kate Kane, has always been queer. Always, she has been queer, and she has always been Jewish, which means that Bruce Wayne, by the way, is actually Jewish.
It's arguable.
But Ryan,
cousin on which side is the question, as well as does Judaism count as belief? So
no,
it's
explicitly stated she's his cousin on his mother's side, which means that Martha Wayne is Jewish, which means that it's a fit. Okay, so yes, and I realized. So, okay, now I understand what Jonathan's asking, that they created this completely new character to take the mantle of Batwoman instead of, for example, making Barbara Gordon black. I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that. It's a creative decision that they made, and I like the character, although I will note that the character has the same problem that they got when they race bent Wally West, which is in the comics. When they race bent Wally West, he went from nice middle-class kid from nice neighborhood, right, middle-class white kid in that neighborhood, to troubled black kid who needed to be got out of his trouble with the cops. And they did the same thing with Ryan Wilder, and it kind of bothered me.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into the, I mean, there's a list of these stereotypes. Hollywood could just put it on the wall in giant font. Things we should try not to do, or at least try not to do as the most obvious step one whenever we construct a character.
Exactly. And I mean, I have talked to black fans who love Black Lightning. I have also talked to black fans who do not like Black Lightning because it's too much about the issues they have to face day to day. And I actually, the first season of Batwoman, as a bisexual woman, I had the same problem, that it got a little bit too much about being a lesbian. It got a little bit too much about about homophobia. So I kind of see that, and that's an issue too, and now they've got the black lead, it's now about being black. And now they've got her, she's healthy about her sexuality, but now it's about being black. And I'm hoping that we can move away from that with Naomi. But there is an issue with queer character. And one of the reasons I like Dreamer is, it's important that she's trans. It really makes a difference that she's trans, but not everything that we do with Dreamer is about her being trans and her relationship with. None of the problems that she and Brainy have in their relationship have anything to do with her being trans.
And Legends, likewise, a lot of what they're doing, and yeah, it's for comedy, is not about, oh my gosh, we must focus on the two women who are together, or, they've done some stuff with the Muslim background, but back to not every episode. Whereas there are some series where every time they land on a planet, that character is the one where everyone stares at and goes, why are you different? What's up with you? Which is interesting because Legends is the one where they're traveling back 50 years, they're traveling back 500 years, they're traveling back to societies where, well, there are very few societies where this exact group of people would have been walking around acting like this.
And sometimes they touch on it and they play with it. But that's because Legends is the most playful of the shows in general. And yes, the Sarah Avett romance, I do love the relationship between those two and how they, and also the clone thing and the dealing with identity and mixing that in with the sexuality was very, very interesting to me. And yeah, Jessica asked about Leonard Snart being pansexual, and I'm pretty sure he was actually portrayed pretty much as gay. But it's been a few seasons, so I might be forgetting something. So the obvious next sort of direction to go, because I did make moderator notes for this when I thought I was actually going to have a panel, so we've got this gap. What do we think the CW should and could do next? I mean, I'm going to say I am salty that Painkiller is not happening. And the other thing I am salty about is Superman and Lois. I am enjoying Superman and Lois. They could have made one of those kids gay and it would have been awesome. But what's your thought on what should the CW do next?
I'm just sitting here going, Batwoman is the most recent. I forget if that, daughter of Arrow and her friends thing is happening or not.
That is not. That one was another one that they toyed with, but there wasn't. What they're doing is they're doing backdoor pilots and seeing what the reactions and social media and stuff are like, which is not a bad way to do things. Now, I do not know anything about Naomi, which is happening, and I have been intentionally avoiding finding out. It's a character I've not read in the comics, and I've been intentionally avoiding finding out more about her. Now I know there's going to be a show because I don't want to be disappointed.
Well, she was invented by Bendis, and he's the Jessica Jones guy. He's done some very awesome arcs on all kinds of things. So.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't think it's going to be good. I'm saying I don't want to compare it. I don't want to read the comics and then watch the show, because then I will compare the two and it might. I'm the person who, if I hear about a book being made into a movie and I haven't read the book yet, I will hold off on reading the book until I've seen the movie. That's just me. Give us bisexual Nightwing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea from multiple people in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, right now, so many, the movies as well as the shows and all this stuff, and oh my God, Marvel, are wrestling with the legacy character question of, should we make Falcon Captain America? Is that a rude and dismissive gesture? Is that a respectful gesture? Is this a good way to do it? Is this a bad way to do it? And of course, if anybody Googles essays about Falcon and Winter Soldier, you could get some very loud fans on all sides of this question.
Yeah.
But
I am avoiding that because I haven't had the ability to see it yet.
Well,
so I don't want to read too much of the analysis on it.
Before seeing it, I'm sure you were aware that the question was, should he be Captain America or not, given how the films were ending. So,
and, I had a reaction when I had some very negative reactions to the end of Endgame. But I will say that I had a very positive reaction when Steve said that Sam should get the shield, not Bucky, because I have always found Sam Wilson as Captain America much more compelling than Bucky as Captain America. But that's just me.
Well,
so that's what side of that debate I'm on.
And we brought this up with Batwoman, I suppose. The question keeps coming up, is legacy characters a respectful way or an obnoxious way? And some of them, like Riri Williams Ironheart, who's over on my far side there, I've seen done wonderfully well, but also she decides, no, don't call me Iron Man or Iron Woman or Iron Maiden, no thank you.
Yes, and I think she's right, I like Ironheart better than any of those.
Oh, and there's Wolverine on my other side, and again, they made the Logan movie, so I see them keep bringing up the question.
And never answering it.
Well, they have some answers, like the end of Logan, she walks away, okay, I'm Wolverine now, kind of thing. And more of this stuff is coming. The Spider-Verse thing brought up the answer of, we're all Spider-Man, we've got one in every reality, and we're all kicking butt, and we've got an anime one, and we've got a black and white 30s one, and we're all having fun. Sure, bring it on. But, so I've seen some people do it well, but yeah, they keep toying with this, and we just saw the new Batwoman saying, well, what if you got your Batwoman back? Would you just have me turn in my suit and retire? What are we doing with this? So, I'm not sure it's great. I can see them playing with the race-lifted and other kinds of flipped legacy characters to capitalize on the big names, and I can see the fans going back to the heavy debate.
And it's on all sides. I do know people, both queer people and fans of color, who are like, no, we want new characters. We don't want a black Superman. We want a black character who is as prominent as Superman. And, so it's not like, it's not, and there's always going to be this debate because we are dealing with franchises that are decades old and have changed and grown and developed in all sorts of different ways. And no, we can't forget Spider-Ham. And all of these different ways, and queering a character, I would say it depends on the character.
Everyone was screaming, why isn't Captain America gay? Why isn't he something? Why isn't he experimenting?
Yeah, but, and coming back to the CW, I would have liked to have seen them make one of Superman's kids gay, and not the nerdy one, the jock. I would have wanted it to be John, but they don't seem to be going that way. Both of them seem to like girls, so maybe we'll get a surprise. Alex certainly had some compulsory heterosexuality in her background. And they did that so well, because I get a lot of time when people do that, they end up with bisexual erasure, and they actually managed to do the compulsory heterosexuality thing without it turning into bisexual erasure, which I have to give them points for.
It's a good point in the chat about, yes, if you're race bending or gender flipping or something like that, you are bringing in a new person. Whereas if Captain America, who's Steve Rogers, reveals that actually he's always been hiding his secret affection for, that would be a new dimension or nuance or journey for the pre-existing character. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can queer a character without necessarily needing to retcon, especially if you remember that bisexual people exist. Whilst if you race bend a character, you either have to retcon or you have to do the Spider-Verse thing. And thinking about, bisexual Nightwing, I mean, there's nothing that says that Dick couldn't show up in Batwoman. There's nothing that says that they couldn't have him show up, at least as a visitor. And they've made it clear they're not going to do anything with Bruce, but there's nothing that says that Dick, Tim, or Jason couldn't show up. And they have had Spoiler show up, albeit in a slightly different form from normal, but Spoiler did show up.
I know we're supposed to be in the CW universe, but I was asked about my favorite standout hero, and I was going through the CW universe going, kind of okay, reasonably nice. And the one that I actually love is America Chavez in everything she's been in, comics, whatever. And if anybody has not seen the cartoon Marvel Rising, you can get it on YouTube. There aren't that many episodes of it, but it is a delightful girl power team up, and America Chavez, who can punch holes in realities, is just awesome and delightful. And yes, she's bi if we're, representation, but Marvel Rising, on the one hand, is lovely and wonderful and delightful. On the other hand, it's another symptom of this. We don't want to, spend real movie money or real 22 episode money on all these, female superheroes of different backgrounds. So let's just do the cheap cartoon, even though it does appear to take place in the MCU.
Although I will note that animation is not that cheap. But I mean, that was one of the things I liked about Batwoman is it shows up and it's like they're going to do a full series, lesbian main character. And when she showed up in the first episode, I just turned to my husband. I'm a bisexual woman in a heterosexual relationship. Most of us actually are, because it's easier to find a man than it is to find a lesbian. And I just turned to my husband, oh my God, they let her be butch. And that was one of my disappointments when Rose quit, because I like Ryan Ryder, but she's not butch. And it was like, because you don't see butch lesbians because men can't fantasize about them in the same way. And, that was that was the amazing thing. And that's why I got mad when Rose, one of the reasons I got mad when Ruby Rose quit. I am not judging her. She had her reasons, but I was a little mad that it happened.
So yeah, every studio decision, well, we've reached this era of the internet pushing back and everybody has a blog now, and but you would really think this would make the studios listen a little better. And yes, there have been a few times when fan campaigns really have changed the content, especially when the studio did a big promo stuff and all the fans said, giant problem, giant thing you overlooked, hello, please don't do it that way.
I mean,
but go ahead.
I do not think that studios and creators should always listen to the fans. that's a dangerous road to go down. I think you've got to maintain your creative integrity, but there's also the point of, if the fans are saying, we would watch this, or we would read this, or we really want this, then you should at least consider it. And sometimes you can't. As I say, the big constraint of television is actors. Actors quit on you.
Well, yeah, but the fans understand that that's gonna be a thing.
Not all of them. Not all of them, believe me.
Batwoman leaving after season 1 messed up all kinds of storylines and relationships, but that's life. If they want to continue the show, they've got to deal with it. Although one thing I did like about losing Kate Kane is Alice was going through some interesting stuff this season, and she was going through it on her own because she wasn't there hissing from the corners at Kate and messing with Kate's head. So we just saw Alice versus Alice, which I liked.
That is why, although I do not like what they did with Kate. The entire brainwash, what I would have liked to have seen them do, but it would have precluded doing this stuff with Alice, which is why I think it's probably for the best that they didn't do it, was Kate dies, Kate isn't dead, Kate shows up, takes one complete traumatized, exhausted, takes one look at what Ryan Wilder's doing and says, okay, Gotham doesn't need me, they've got need me, it's got you, I'm gonna go off and fix myself. And then when they decide to end the show, they get Ruby Rose to come back for the finale, and you get the two Batwomen fighting some kind of massive boss next to each other. Is what I would have liked to have done, but I can't work out what you'd do with Alice, because she'd go off to help Kate. So it doesn't actually work, but it would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Of such things are reams of fanfic born. So the other actual question I had in my notes is, what makes the superhero genre fit with LGBT characters? I mean, we've already sort of touched on secret identities and the entire issue of identity and multiple names and different names in different situations that, you know, often sort of gets reflected by this across the two things. But anything else we can think of that makes it particularly good? I mean, other than all the tight spandex.
It adds more pressure to relationships, to judgment. I mean, both, all the above. There are different worlds that you're operating in. We see so many superhero shows where it's, oh, now that we're in public and we're in our civilian clothes, I need to act totally different around you. And yeah.
And we can't let the, you know, I mean, look at Superman and Lois. I mean, it's a straight relationship, but when Clark is in, if Clark is in uniform and Lois is there, she has to pretend that isn't her husband. And that's something that people in same-sex relationships have to deal with, is pretending and having people deny your relationships. You know, Superman can't have a girlfriend. Certainly can't have a wife, good grief. No, and I mean, I'm using that as straight relationship quite intentionally. And I think the other thing is that transformation of various kinds is a big thing in superheroes. And I think, and I'm going to step out on a limb here because I am cis, but I do wonder if the entire physical transformations that sometimes go on might resonate with some trans people, but I can only speak to that at an academic level.
Yeah, and written a big chapter about this already, but you run into all these awkward tropes that, again, the community is begging the creators and the filmmakers to not do, about the magic spell suddenly flipped your gender, or the technology, they're just going, no, please don't do that. So some of the trans superheroes have been done well, and I'm thinking of in comics where there are noticeably more of them, and some of them have been done as an awkward joke about gender roles or something like that. And again, all of the fans are sitting there going, did you really have to go there?
Okay, so we actually do have a trans man in the audience who's talking about perceptions changing across Superman's roles, and that Clark is seen as a very different person from Superman. Okay. I just wanted to say that out loud. It was in the chat, and actually let the guy have his voice. And
Very
yes,
good point. Yeah.
some very cringeworthy things. Thankfully, we haven't seen that much of the trope that occasionally shows up of the guy who turns into a magical girl, the Ranma phenomenon, which again, I am not. Yeah, I hate the gender. Is this what you mean by the gender bending trope? I'm asking the other trans guy in the audience. But that sort of thing is, as opposed to an actual trans person using, let's say Grace was trans, Grace Choi, the shapeshifter, having an actual trans shapeshifter use their powers to deal with their dysphoria. They had a scene, they did, they cut a scene with Leonard snorting a skirt. That would have been, yeah.
I'm going back to all these studio creators could take all the tropes that everybody has said, please don't, or we've seen such an, just don't write this one and put it on their wall.
They need a board on one wall of the writer's room with all the things we are not going to do written on it. And they also need a board in the writer's room about the law and the Constitution, but that's another panel.
Yeah, and we know all about the super villains list. If a 5-year-old child could, see the flaws in my plan, let's not do those. And, yeah. Joker's girlfriend in Birds of Prey. I'm not sure which Birds of Prey, whether that was the 90s TV show or something else.
Yeah, I mean, Harley is the
the movie, I guess.
Harley is the only Joker's girlfriend I can really think of, and she is emphatically, canonically bisexual. And really, DC, would you stop promising to marry Harley and Ivy and then not doing it? Would you stop that? They've done that like 3 times. I mean, again, that's not the CW, but that's the comics. But they do keep they keep queer baiting us with those two, and it's annoying.
I've enjoyed Amanda Connor's Harley Quinn. Yes, she was in a horribly abusive, dysfunctional relationship, but with Amanda Connor, she gets a lot of agency. She's forming her own team of people and so forth, but we really see her considering her choices and making the choices she wants to make.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's an awful lot of stuff about agency in the Batman verse in general, because you've got all of these people who are they evil or are they insane? And does it matter where's the line? And I think that's a thing.
Yeah, and Harley and Ivy, they've been teasing the movie Gotham City Sirens for a while. On the other hand, I would have titled the Birds of Prey movie Gotham City Sirens when you look at the lineup, but whatever.
Yeah,
So
I
a
didn't get
Harley
to
and
see
Ivy
that.
movie might be coming.
Okay. Okay, we have the 10-minute warning just
Yeah.
to say.
Audience, are there topics we didn't cover yet? I mean, we didn't talk about Stargirl, which is not, but is adjacent to.
It is and it isn't, and Stargirl hasn't really. I like Stargirl. It's very cute, but it's also it's very YA and not necessarily the best sense, in that it's a little, in that so far it's been a little shallow. But part of that is they were doing a team origin, and it's hard to do a team origin and not be a little shallow. So I'm hoping that they do some more with that and we get a little bit more depth to the characters. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the show, because I did, but exactly, it's cute but insubstantial. That's exactly where I was going with that. And I don't know whether any of the characters are actually queer, because we haven't really explored them enough to know.
I was sitting there with that one going, is there a reason we're making this? Because I'm not really feeling it.
They're trying to attract teenagers and not really understanding what teenagers want.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's not compelling from what I'm seeing, but okay. Yeah, I don't think somebody's gonna come to break up Ava and Sarah, but whatever.
I hope
could
not.
do
And
anything.
I hate love triangles. I am just so done with love triangles. Polyamory is a thing. Stop it. But
The
that's
show seems happy with Sarah and Ava are very stable, and yeah, one could get kidnapped or something like that, but they seem very stable.
Have you seen this season?
I thought I have, but aren't we just like 4 episodes in or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish, because this season is all about Sarah getting kidnapped.
Well, yeah.
And Gary turning out to be an alien in a total retcon that makes absolutely no sense, but at least it's funny. I mean, it's Legends, so it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't that Legends? A retcon that makes no sense and yet it's funny over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I do not want anything to happen to Sarah and Ava. I want a wedding. I want a wedding. I want a really cheesy wedding that's just completely over the top, and we have to work out which historical figure is going to officiate.
They already had that really mushy love musical episode that was in Bollywood.
They did, but I want a wedding officiated by some ridiculous figure from history that they semi-kidnapped to get to officiate their wedding. And you know, I want that. I want that at the end of this season. We'll see what they do, but I really, really want mushy lesbian wedding scene. Yeah. Well, I mean, it has to start, and they try for the mushy wedding, and then it gets interrupted by a kaiju or something, and they have to deal with that, and then at the end they get back together, and they're all like, all their finery has been damaged, and then they do the mushy wedding and just close out on the kiss with a heart filter. That's what I want. The bachelorette part. Can you imagine John Constantine arranging Sarah's bachelorette party?
That we might end up seeing.
Because, well, I could see her asking him to be best man. I could see that. And I can't think of anyone else she'd ask, actually. Chaos energy, definite chaos energy. But yeah, let's put that, that's second on my list, because top of my list is, can we have more gay men? Can we have more gay men? CW, listen, we want more gay men.
They're not listening.
I think they're listening more than they used to, so I don't want them to listen too much, yes, ace character. We don't really have a good ace character. That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I think TV show writers are afraid to do ace characters because they're afraid to close the door to, because love plots are popular and they're afraid to actually close the door on them. I think is really what that is.
I mean, there have been many ace characters, but throughout history, TV studios have not called them that. They've called them the old curmudgeon, or the this, or the that, or confirmed bachelor, or spinster.
Right. No, the person who said that in the chat is absolutely right. We could write, and I feel bad that I did not bring it up myself, but yes, absolutely. Can we have somebody have a significant character who is asexual, aromantic, or one or the other, both ace character in a romantic relationship, whatever, any of those combinations, because ace people and our people both, and people who are both get the crumbs at best. But an ace character in a romantic relationship, yeah, that would be neat.
Again, off topic for CW, but a show that I felt was really modeling a lot of different healthy relationships was Glee. That was, and I don't just mean we have one of these and one of these, but I mean, how do I talk to you about this? What would be the polite thing to say now that you've told me this? And I really saw a lot of the characters modeling those conversations for teenagers, which was nice to see.
I mean, what I heard about Glee, which I didn't watch, was I did hear it started out really good, but did jump the shark at some point.
I wasn't really watching for the storylines. They're high schoolers having high school drama, but
I mean, so I heard it did jump the shark at one point.
Well, that's another point brought up in the chat. If there's only one show that is doing all these relationships right, that everyone's going to watch, even if the plot is really weak. And back to, okay, could we get, a number of shows like this? Maybe more than one?
Yeah, can we get into the position where we can argue about which one is the best?
Mm-hmm. Or choose to watch the ones with not watch the ones with the weaker stories, yes.
Oh, probably they straight wash Jughead. I mean, I have no dog in that fandom, but I am generally unamused with straight watching, and we are almost out of time. So Valerie, how about where we can find you? And
search up my name on Amazon, or if you send me a message or something, I'm happy to send out my super heroine books for review copies and stuff like that.
Awesome. And I am Jennifer Povey, and I will just hang out on the Discord for a bit after this, because I have nothing after this except a party, so I can hang out in the Discord and we can keep talking about queer characters, superheroes, and whatever else. And what room are we in?
St. George.
St. George, thank you. So the St. George Discord channel. Let's not make it the discourse channel. That would be bad. Couldn't help but I had it's the end of a long day and I've been talking a lot. So there we go. I will be in the St. George Discord channel.